A night that changed everything. The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday evening, turning the Manhattan streets into rivers of reflected neon lights. Naomi Harper clutched her portfolio folder against her chest, trying desperately to shield it from the downpour as she rushed down Fifth Avenue. Her heel caught on an uneven sidewalk, and she felt herself falling forward, her entire world tilting sideways. Strong arms caught her before she hit the wet pavement. The portfolio flew from her grasp, papers scattering across the sidewalk like confetti. Naomi found herself pressed against a solid chest, the scent of expensive cologne mixing with the smell of rain. She looked up, water streaming down her face, and met the most intense gray eyes she had ever seen. "Are you all right?" The man's voice was deep, concerned. With a hint of something that made her heart skip unexpectedly, Naomi stammered, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. Yes. Thank you. My papers." The man held her steady for a moment longer before releasing her, immediately dropping to his knees on the wet sidewalk. He began gathering her scattered documents, seemingly unconcerned about his expensive suit getting soaked. Naomi knelt beside him, mortified as she watched this stranger rescue her presentation materials for tomorrow's crucial meeting. "I'm so clumsy," she apologized, grabbing at wet papers. "You didn't have to do this. Your suit is getting ruined." He glanced at her with a slight smile. "It's just a suit. Your work looks more important." He held up one of her event planning proposals, squinting at the water-damaged text. "The Riverside Charity Gala? That's a significant undertaking." Naomi felt heat rise to her cheeks despite the cold rain. "I'm trying to win the contract. It would change everything for my business." An offer she cannot refuse. They stood together under the awning of a nearby building, attempting to salvage what they could of her documents. The stranger pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking in low, authoritative tones. Within minutes, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. "Let me give you a ride," he said, opening the door. "It's the least I can do after you nearly injured yourself." Naomi hesitated, her mother's warnings about strangers echoing in her mind. But there was something about this man that made her feel safe, despite the unusual circumstances. Besides, she was soaked, her papers were destroyed. And she lived in Brooklyn, at least an hour away by subway. "I don't even know your name," she said, sliding into the warm interior of the car. "Julian," he replied, settling beside her. "Julian Blackwood." The name struck her like lightning. Julian Blackwood. The Julian Blackwood. Tech billionaire, youngest CEO to ever take a company public, and notorious for his ruthless business tactics. She had read about him in Forbes magazine just last month, and here she was, dripping wet in his car, looking like a drowned cat. "God," Naomi whispered, mortification washing over her. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Blackwood. I didn't recognize you. Your car must be getting soaked because of me." Julian laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his serious face. "Please, call me Julian. And I've had worse things than rainwater in this car. Trust me. Now, where are we taking you?" The proposition as they drove through the city, Naomi found herself talking more freely than she had expected. Julian was easy to talk to, asking thoughtful questions about her event planning business, her dreams, her struggles in the competitive New York market. She told him about her partnership with Rachel, about the tiny office they rented above a bakery in Queens, about the Riverside Charity Gala contract that could finally put them on the map. "The presentation is tomorrow at 10, she explained, looking sadly at her ruined portfolio. "I spent 3 weeks on these proposals. Now I'll have to start over tonight." Julian was quiet for a moment, his fingers drumming against his knee. "What if I could help?" Naomi turned to look at him, confused. "Help? How?" "I sit on the board of the Riverside Foundation," he said, watching her reaction carefully. "I could put in a good word for you. Better yet, I could ensure you get the contract." Her stomach dropped. "I can't accept that. It wouldn't be fair to the other bidders. I want to win on merit, not because of who I met on the street." Something shifted in Julian's expression, a look of respect and something deeper. "That's refreshing. Most people would jump at the opportunity." He paused. "What if I offered something different? My company has access to the best presentation software and designers. I could have someone at your office tonight to help you recreate everything better than before. Naomi bit her lip, torn between pride and practicality. Why would you do that for a stranger? Julian met her eyes, and for a moment, the air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken electricity. Because I don't think you're going to remain a stranger for very long. Midnight magic. By the time they reached her building in Brooklyn, rain was still falling steadily. Julian insisted on walking her to her door, holding an umbrella that his driver had somehow produced. At her apartment entrance, Naomi turned to thank him properly. I really appreciate everything, Julian. The ride, the offer, catching me before I face-planted on Fifth Avenue. She smiled, tucking a wet strand of hair behind her ear. You didn't have to be so kind. I wanted to be, he said simply. Then, pulling out his phone, he handed it to her. Put your number in. I'll have my assistant contact you within the hour about the presentation help. As Naomi typed in her information, her hands trembling slightly, she felt Rachel's presence behind the door. Her roommate was probably peering through the peephole, dying of curiosity. She handed the phone back, their fingers brushing briefly. Thank you, Julian. Really? He smiled, but there was something intense in his gaze, something that made her pulse quicken. Have dinner with me tomorrow night. After your presentation, it wasn't really a question, but Naomi appreciated that he waited for her answer. She knew she should say no. Julian Blackwood was way out of her league, a man who dated supermodels and socialites, whose life was splashed across tabloids and business sections alike. But something in his eyes made her throw caution to the wind. Yes, she whispered. I'd like that. After Julian left, Naomi stood in the hallway for a moment, trying to process everything that had happened. The fall, the rescue, the ride, the offer, and now a date with one of the most powerful men in New York City. It felt surreal. It's like something from a romance novel, rather than her ordinary life. Rachel burst through the door before Naomi could even knock. Oh my God. Was that Julian Blackwood? The Julian Blackwood. What the hell just happened? Why are you soaked? Why was he holding an umbrella for you? Naomi, talk to me. A warning from the pastas promised, Julian's assistant called within the hour. James Chen arrived at their apartment at 11, carrying high-end equipment and an apologetic smile. He worked efficiently, helping Naomi recreate her entire presentation with professional-grade software and design, elements she could never have afforded. By 3 in the morning, her proposal looked better than anything she had created before. Mr. Blackwood wants you to succeed on your own merit, James said as he packed up his equipment. This levels the playing field. The rest is up to you. After he left, Rachel sat beside Naomi on their worn couch, studying her friend's face. Are you sure about this? Julian Blackwood isn't known for casual relationships. When he wants something, he gets it. And Naomi, I think he wants you. Naomi thought about the way Julian had looked at her in the car, the intensity in his gray eyes, the gentleness of his touch when he had caught her fall. Part of her thrilled at the possibility that someone like him could want someone like her. But another part, the practical part that had survived years of disappointment and struggle, warned her to be careful. I'm having dinner with him tomorrow, she admitted. Just dinner. What's the worst that could happen? Rachel gave her a look. Famous last words, my friend. Famous last words. Naomi lay in bed that night, unable to sleep despite her exhaustion. Tomorrow, she would present to the Riverside Foundation Board. Tomorrow night, she would have dinner with Julian Blackwood. Her ordinary life had suddenly become extraordinary. All because she had fallen into a stranger's arms on a rainy Manhattan street. She touched her phone. Looking at Julian's contact information glowing in the darkness, something told her that this was just the beginning, that Julian Blackwood was not a man who did anything halfway. When he had said she wouldn't remain a stranger for long, it had sounded like a promise, or perhaps a warning. The presentation that changed everything. Naomi stood outside the Riverside Foundation's conference room, smoothing down her navy blazer for the 100th time. The building was impressive, all glass and marble, overlooking Central Park. Through the transparent walls, she could see the board members already seated, reviewing documents. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Rachel squeezed her hand. You've got this. Your presentation is flawless. Just breathe. The door opened, and a woman in her 50s gestured for Naomi to enter. As she walked into the room, her eyes immediately found Julian seated at the far end of the table. He wore a charcoal suit today, looking every bit the powerful CEO she had read about. Their eyes met briefly, and he gave her the smallest nod of encouragement before his expression returned to its neutral, professional mask. Ms. Harper, the chairwoman began. Please proceed with your presentation. For the next 45 minutes, Naomi poured her heart into the pitch. She detailed every aspect of the charity gala. From venue selection to entertainment, from fundraising strategies to guest experience, the software James had brought allowed her to showcase stunning visuals and detailed timelines. She spoke about her vision for making this the most memorable charity event of the year, one that would raise significant funds for underprivileged children's education. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then questions came, rapid fire and challenging. Naomi answered each one confidently, her preparation paying off. She noticed Julian never asked a question, simply watched her with those intense gray eyes. A slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth, an unexpected visitor 2 hours later. Naomi sat in a coffee shop across from the foundation building, nursing a latte and waiting for their decision. Her phone buzzed with a text from Julian. You were magnificent. Dinner tonight at 8. I'll send a car. Dress comfortably, she smiled, typing back a quick response when a shadow fell across her table. Looking up, she found herself staring at a woman who could have stepped out of a fashion magazine. Tall, blonde, impeccably dressed in designer everything. With ice blue eyes that assessed Naomi with cold calculation. You must be Naomi Harper, the woman said. Sliding into the seat across from her without invitation, I'm Patricia Blackwood, Julian's mother. Naomi's coffee suddenly tasted bitter. Mrs. Blackwood, this is unexpected. Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. I make it my business to know about anyone who enters my son's life. Tell me, dear, what exactly are your intentions with Julian? I hardly think that's your concern, Naomi replied, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. I've met Julian once, and we're having dinner tonight. That's all. It's never all with my son, Patricia said, leaning forward. Julian doesn't do casual. When he decides he wants something, he pursues it relentlessly. And right now, for some inexplicable reason, he wants you. Naomi felt heat rising in her cheeks. With all due respect, Mrs. Blackwood, Julian is an adult. He can make his own decisions, Patricia laughed, a cold sound. Of course he can. But let me paint you a picture of what your life would become. Constant media scrutiny. Every relationship, every past mistake, every embarrassing moment examined under a microscope. Photographers following you to the grocery store. Society, women whispering behind your back about the nobody who trapped Julian Blackwood. Can you handle that, Miss Harper? Before Naomi could respond, her phone rang. It was the Riverside Foundation. With shaking hands, she answered, listening as the chairwoman congratulated her on winning the contract. When she hung up, Patricia was still watching her with that calculating expression. Congratulations, Patricia said coolly. I wonder if Julian's presence on the board had anything to do with that. My presentation won that contract, Naomi said firmly, gathering her things. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mrs. Blackwood, I have work to do. As she walked away, Patricia called after her. He'll tire of you eventually, dear. He always does. Don't say I didn't warn you. Dinner and confessions, the card Julian sent was even more luxurious than the one from the previous night. Naomi had chosen a simple emerald dress that Rachel insisted brought out her eyes, paired with minimal jewelry. She felt nervous, Patricia's words echoing in her mind, but also excited in a way she hadn't felt in years. The car didn't take her to a restaurant. Instead, it drove to a private airfield where a helicopter waited. Julian stood beside it, looking relaxed in dark jeans and a white button-down shirt, the sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. Trust me, he asked, extending his hand. Naomi took it, feeling that same electric current she had felt the night before. Where are we going? Somewhere we can talk without interruption, he said. Helping her into the helicopter, they flew over the city as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. 20 minutes later, they landed on the roof of a building in the Hamptons. Julian led her to a private rooftop terrace where a table had been set for two, complete with candles and flowers. The ocean stretched out before them, waves crashing against the shore below. "This is incredible," Naomi breathed. Taking in the view, "I wanted tonight to be special," Julian said, pulling out her chair. "Congratulations on winning the contract, by the way. Your presentation was exceptional. It started with champagne and appetizers, conversation flowing easily." Julian asked about her childhood, her dreams, what had led her to event planning. Naomi found herself opening up in ways she rarely did, telling him about growing up with a single mother after her father left, about working multiple jobs to put herself through college, about the determination that drove her to succeed. "My mother visited me today," Naomi said carefully, watching Julian's reaction. "Patricia Blackwood." Julian's jaw tightened, his hand freezing halfway to his wine glass. "What did she say to you?" "She warned me about the life I'd have with you. The media attention, the scrutiny, the society gossip." Naomi met his eyes. "She seems to think you'll tire of me eventually?" Julian set down his glass with deliberate care. "My mother is a controlling woman who has spent her entire life trying to orchestrate every aspect of mine. I'm sorry she approached you. That was inappropriate and won't happen again. Will you tire of me?" Naomi asked quietly. Julian stood, coming around the table to kneel beside her chair. He took her hands in his gray eyes intense and serious. "Naomi, I've dated actresses, models, socialites, women who were perfect on paper, but none of them ever made me feel what I felt the moment I caught you in my arms. You're genuine, passionate, determined. You challenge me. You make me want to be better. You barely know me," she whispered, though her heart was soaring. "Then let me know you," he said. "Give me a chance. Give us a chance." Secrets in the shadows as they ate dinner under the stars, Julian told her about his own struggles. Despite his wealth and success, he had faced his own demons. A father who had built an empire but never had time for his son. A mother who valued status over happiness. The pressure to always be perfect, always be in control. Always be the brilliant CEO everyone expected. "When I met you," Julian said, pouring more wine, "you reminded me that there's more to life than board meetings and stock prices. You have this light about you, this joy despite everything you've been through. I want that in my life." Naomi felt herself falling, tumbling into something deep and terrifying and wonderful all at once. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to be practical, focused on her business, not falling for a billionaire who could break her heart with a single, careless word. But as Julian reached across the table and took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm, she knew it was too late. She was already falling. Her phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Your sister Olivia called. Said it was urgent. Call her back." Naomi frowned. She and Olivia had a complicated relationship. Her younger sister had always blamed Naomi for their father leaving, claiming Naomi's academic ambitions had put too much pressure on the family. They hadn't spoken in months. "Everything okay?" Julian asked, noticing her expression. "Family stuff," Naomi said, tucking her phone away. "Nothing that can't wait." But as the evening continued, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. When Julian suggested they walk along the beach, she agreed, hoping the ocean breeze would clear her mind. They walked barefoot in the sand, waves lapping at their feet, talking about everything and nothing. "I want to see you again," Julian said, stopping to face her. The moonlight cast shadows across his face, making him look both vulnerable and dangerous. "Tomorrow, the next day, and the day after that. I want to know everything about you, Naomi Harper." "This is crazy," she said, but she was smiling. "We've known each other for 2 days." "The best things in life are a little crazy," he replied, reaching up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek and Naomi's breath caught. The kiss, when it came, was inevitable. Soft at first, then deeper, filled with all the unspoken promises and possibilities between them. Naomi felt like she was drowning in the best possible way. Julian's arms strong around her, the sound of the ocean a symphony in the background. The first crack they flew back to Manhattan late that night, Naomi's head resting on Julian's shoulder in the helicopter. She felt like Cinderella, knowing that reality would intrude soon enough, but unwilling to let go of this magical evening. Julian walked her to her apartment door again, reluctant to let her go. I have a business trip tomorrow. Singapore. I'll be gone for 5 days. Naomi tried to hide her disappointment. It's fine. I have a lot of work to do anyway, planning the gala. Come with me, he said suddenly. Take your laptop. Work from the hotel. We can explore the city together in the evenings. Julian, I can't just drop everything and fly to Singapore. She laughed, though part of her desperately wanted to say yes. Why not? He challenged. When was the last time you did something spontaneous? Something just for yourself? Before she could answer, her apartment door flew open. Rachel stood there, her face pale and worried. Behind her was Olivia, Naomi's 23-year-old sister, mascara streaking down her face. Naomi, Olivia sobbed. I'm in trouble. Big trouble. And I need your help. Julian's expression shifted to concern. Naomi looked between her distraught sister, her worried best friend, and the man who was quickly becoming something more than she had ever expected. Her perfect evening was crashing down around her, reality intruding in the worst possible way. I should go, Julian said quietly, squeezing her hand. Call me if you need anything. I mean that, Naomi. Anything. As he disappeared down the hallway, Naomi turned to face her sister, steeling herself for whatever crisis had brought Olivia to her doorstep. But even as she listened to Olivia's tearful confession about gambling debts and dangerous people, part of her mind stayed with Julian, wondering if their connection was strong enough to survive the complications that real life was about to throw at them. A sister's desperation, Naomi made tea while Olivia sat on the couch, alternating between crying and apologizing. Rachel hovered nearby, shooting Naomi's sympathetic looks. It was 2 a.m, and Naomi's beautiful evening with Julian felt like a distant dream. Start from the beginning, Naomi said, handing Olivia a mug. How much do you owe? Olivia's hands shook as she wrapped them around the warm ceramic. $50,000. I started playing poker online, just for fun, and I started winning. And it felt so good, you know? Like I was finally good at something. But then I started losing, and I kept thinking the next hand would turn it around. $50,000? Naomi's voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. Olivia, how could you be so irresponsible? I know, Olivia cried. I know, okay? But these aren't just any creditors, Naomi. The guy I owe money to, Derek Morrison. He's not playing around. He gave me 1 week to come up with the money, or else. The name Derek Morrison rang a bell, but Naomi couldn't place it immediately. She was too busy calculating numbers in her head. Even with the Riverside contract, she didn't have that kind of money. Her entire savings account held maybe $12,000. Why didn't you go to Dad? Naomi asked, though she knew the answer. Olivia's expression turned bitter. Thomas. Harper, the man who sends a birthday card once a year and pretends he has 2 daughters instead of abandoning them. I tried. He said he couldn't help that I needed to learn responsibility. Rachel spoke up gently. What about a loan or payment plan? Morrison doesn't do payment plans, Olivia said, her voice dropping to a whisper. He made it very clear what happens to people who don't pay. Naomi, I'm scared. Really scared. Naomi closed her eyes, exhaustion and worry weighing on her. She thought about Julian's offer to join him in Singapore. The promise of more magical evenings, the possibility of something real and lasting. All of it felt impossibly far away now. I'll figure something out, she heard herself saying. But Olivia, after this you're getting help. Real help. Therapy. Gamblers Anonymous. Whatever it takes. Olivia nodded eagerly, relief flooding her face. I promise. Thank you, Naomi. I knew I could count on you. After Olivia finally fell asleep on the couch, Rachel pulled Naomi into the kitchen. You're not seriously considering paying this, are you? That's your entire emergency fund plus money you don't have. She's my sister, Naomi said wearily. What else can I do? Rachel bit her lip, then spoke carefully. You could ask Julian? Absolutely not, Naomi said firmly. Yeah. I'm not going to run to some man I just met asking for money. That's exactly what his mother would expect. Some gold digger trapping her son. But if you're in danger, we'll figure it out, Naomi insisted. Without Julian's help, the business rival the next morning, Naomi dove into research about Derek Morrison. What she found made her blood run cold. Morrison was Julian's biggest business rival, a tech entrepreneur who had been trying to destroy Blackwood Technologies for years. Their feud was legendary in business circles. Stemming from a deal gone wrong 5 years ago, Morrison had a reputation for ruthlessness, both in business and personal matters. There were whispers about his less-than-legal side ventures, though nothing had ever been proven. The fact that he was the one Olivia owed money to felt like more than just coincidence. Her phone rang. Julian. She almost didn't answer. Not wanting to lie to him, but not ready to tell him the truth either. "Good morning." His voice was warm, intimate. "I missed you the moment I left your building last night." Despite everything, Naomi smiled. "That's very sweet. How's your sister? Is everything okay?" "It's complicated," Naomi said carefully. "Family stuff, nothing I can't handle." There was a pause. "Naomi, if you need help, I know," she interrupted gently. "And I appreciate it. But this is something I need to deal with myself." After they hung up, Naomi felt guilty for not being completely honest. But how could she tell Julian that her sister owed money to his worst enemy? It would only complicate an already impossible situation. She spent the day contacting everyone she knew, trying to cobble together enough money. A loan from the bank was denied. Her credit cards were maxed out from business expenses. Friends offered what they could, but it wasn't nearly enough. Evening. She had managed to gather $30,000, still $20,000 short. A dangerous meeting against Rachel's protests, Naomi agreed to meet Derek Morrison at his office the next day. She needed to negotiate more time, or perhaps a payment plan, despite what Olivia had said. There had to be another way. Morrison's office was in a gleaming skyscraper in Midtown, all chrome and black leather. The man himself was in his 40s, handsome in a sharp, predatory way. He greeted Naomi with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Ms. Harper," he said, gesturing to a chair. "I've heard a lot about you. In fact, I've been quite interested in your recent activities." "I'm here about my sister's debt," Naomi said, refusing to be intimidated. "I have $30,000. I need more time to get the rest." Morrison leaned back in his chair, studying her with unsettling intensity. "I know who you are, Naomi. Julian Blackwood's new obsession. Tell me, does he know you're here?" Naomi's stomach dropped. "This has nothing to do with Julian." "Everything has to do with Julian," Morrison said, his voice hardening. "Your sister's debt is unfortunate, but let's be honest, it's also convenient." "For me? What are you talking about?" Morrison stood, walking to the window overlooking the city. "I'll forgive your sister's entire debt, every penny. In exchange, you're going to do something for me." "I'm not doing anything illegal," Naomi said firmly. "Nothing illegal," Morrison assured her, "just information. Julian trusts you. He's probably already sharing details about his business, his plans, his strategies. All I want is for you to share those details with me." Naomi felt sick. "You want me to spy on Julian?" "I prefer the term business intelligence," Morrison said smoothly. "It's quite simple. You feed me information about Blackwood Technologies, and your sister stays safe. Everyone wins, except Julian," Naomi said, standing. "I'm not going to betray him." Morrison's expression turned cold. "Then your sister will face the consequences. And trust me, Ms. Harper, those consequences will be severe. I'll give you 48 hours to reconsider." Naomi left the office feeling like she might be sick. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about betrayal, about using her connection to Julian for someone else's gain. The thought made her feel dirty. The confession that night Julian called from Singapore, Naomi almost didn't answer, but she missed his voice too much to let it go to voicemail. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said without preamble. "Tell me something good about your day." Naomi wanted to cry. Instead, she said, "I'm drowning, Julian, and I don't know how to save myself." The concern in his voice was immediate. "What's wrong? Talk to me." And suddenly it all came spilling out. The gambling debt, Derek Morrison. The impossible choice between her sister's safety and betraying the man she was falling in love with. She told him everything, her voice breaking as she spoke. When she finished, there was silence on the other end. Then Julian spoke, his voice carefully controlled. "Morrison is using your sister to get to me. This isn't about the money, Naomi. This is about destroying me, I know, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I should have told you immediately, why didn't you? His voice was gentle, not accusing. Because your mother was right. I'm nobody, Julian. Girl from Brooklyn who can barely keep her business afloat. Now I'm dragging you into my family's mess. You deserve better than this. Don't you dare, Julian said fiercely. Don't you dare let my mother's poison into your head. You're not nobody, Naomi. You're brave and strong, and you've been trying to handle an impossible situation on your own. But you don't have to anymore. I can't let you pay my sister's debts, Naomi protested. You're not letting me do anything, Julian replied. I'm choosing to help. There's a difference. But more than that, we're going to destroy Morrison's leverage entirely. How? By bringing this into the light, Julian said. Morrison operates in shadows, using threats and intimidation. Tomorrow, you're going to the police with everything. We'll also go public with what he's attempting. He can't hurt your sister if everyone knows what he's doing. He'll come after you, Naomi warned. Let him try, Julian said grimly. I've been waiting years for Morrison to cross a line I could use against him. This is it. But Naomi, I need to know something. Are you with me? Really? With me? Because this is going to get ugly. Naomi thought about the past 3 days, about falling into Julian's arms, about the way he looked at her like she was precious, about the future she had started to imagine. She thought about Patricia's warnings, about Morrison's threats, about all the reasons she should walk away. I'm with you, she said firmly, completely. The reunion. Julian flew back from Singapore immediately, cutting his business trip short. He arrived at Naomi's apartment at 6 in the morning, still in his travel clothes, looking exhausted but determined. When she opened the door, he pulled her into his arms and held her like he was afraid she might disappear. We face this together, he murmured into her hair. Over the next few days, they executed Julian's plan. They went to the police with evidence of Morrison's illegal gambling operation and his extortion attempts. Julian's legal team, the best money could buy, built a case that would not only protect Olivia, but potentially shut down Morrison's entire operation. The media got wind of the story. Suddenly, Naomi found herself living the nightmare Patricia had predicted. Reporters camped outside her building. Her photo appeared in newspapers and online gossip sites. Old college friends came out of the woodwork, selling stories true and false to tabloids. But Julian never left her side. He held press conferences. Defending her, used his influence to control the narrative, and most importantly, made sure she knew she wasn't alone. Patricia showed up at Julian's penthouse one evening when Naomi was there. The older woman's expression was a mixture of surprise and grudging respect. You're still here, Patricia observed. Not going anywhere, Naomi replied evenly. Patricia studied her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. It wasn't warm, but it was genuine. You're stronger than I thought. Perhaps you can handle my son after all. It wasn't an apology or acceptance, but it was a start. Full circled 3 months later, Naomi stood in the ballroom of the Riverside Hotel, overseeing the charity gala she had fought so hard to win. The event was perfect, every detail executed flawlessly. Celebrities mingled with philanthropists. Donations were pouring in. The foundation chairwoman had already told her this was the most successful gala in their history. Julian found her, standing by the window, watching the party with satisfaction. He wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, pressing a kiss to her temple. You did it, he murmured. This is incredible. You did it, she corrected, leaning back against him. Derek Morrison had been arrested 2 weeks ago on multiple charges. Olivia was in therapy and had joined Gamblers Anonymous, slowly rebuilding her life. Rachel's business was thriving, with more clients than they could handle. Naomi had found something she thought she'd never have, a partner who saw her as an equal, who challenged and supported her in equal measure. I have something for you, Julian said, turning her to face him. He pulled out a small box, and Naomi's breath caught. Julian, it's not what you think, he said with a smile. Not yet, anyway. Open it. Inside was a key. Naomi looked at him questioningly. It's to my penthouse, he explained. I want you to move in with me. I know it's fast, and maybe it's crazy, but the best things in life are a little crazy. You said that to me once. I want to wake up with you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. I want to build a life with you, Naomi Harper. Naomi thought about the girl who had fallen into a stranger's arms just 3 months ago, soaked and clumsy, and convinced her life would never be more than ordinary. She thought about everything that had happened since, the challenges they had faced and overcome together. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I'll move in with you. As Julian kissed her, the ballroom erupted in applause for the charity event's success. But in that moment, Naomi wasn't thinking about the gala or the guests or anything else. She was thinking about how a single rainy night, a chance encounter, and a choice to trust had changed her entire life. She had fallen into a stranger's arms, and the billionaire CEO had refused to let her go. But more than that, she had discovered something invaluable she was strong enough to hold on to. Together, they were unstoppable. The future stretched out before them, bright and full of possibility, and Naomi couldn't wait to see what came next.